Now, to say that our faith motivates us to care about the people of the valley, and yet to let that care only be expressed through acts of charity without ever bringing our talents to address the root causes of our most defining challenge, concentrated poverty, is to be oblivious to the power of transforming power of faith. And it seems to me that there are two factors that lead to this form of myopia. They are two extremes. One is an overly spiritualized, passive approach. This approach says all we need is for people to come to Jesus. If people would just come to Jesus, we'd solve the problem of poverty. Now, I live in the poorest neighborhood of our city, and I have seen the power of Jesus to overcome amazing personal problems. But I'll speak honestly with you this morning. I've also seen the inability of individual conversion alone to overcome racial or class discrimination, to overcome the grinding effects of exploitation from slumlords, to overcome the outcomes of a lack of educational attainment, to overcome a system that's often stacked against the have-nots. And global history and local experience has demonstrated that spiritual conversion alone has never been sufficient to address the community-wide macro issues. Even the effects of historic revivals diminish over time when not accompanied by sustainable structures in a community that are committed to justice. But when Jesus-inspired conversion has led to systemic social involvement, then you have a civil rights movement. Then you have an abolitionist movement. Then you have the beginning of child labor laws protecting children. Then you have women's suffrage. Then you have a revolution in employment. And that's one of the premises of our day. The second great extreme is the extreme of cynicism. Cynicism misquotes the intent of Jesus, saying, the poor you'll always have with you, and using that as an excuse not to act. It forgets the Deuteronomic assumption from where Jesus drew that quote, that we have a responsibility to the poor. This is the cynicism that says the church can't solve the problem of poverty. This approach leads to churches being in silos and doling out individual doses of compassion. Can I repeat that phrase to you? Doling out individual doses of compassion that can never address the systemic issues in our valley. It says, let the church be the church, and business be business, and government be government, because it can only visualize the influence of the church gathered. It forgets or ignores the skill sets and power of the church scattered. The church with business skills and knowledge. The church with investment capital. The church that comes alongside people who are struggling and helps them to develop a marketable talent or capitalize an idea. So, if we avoid an over-spiritualized passivity on the one hand and a debilitating cynicism on the other, what are our options? Well, some have called it the small is beautiful approach. Don't you love that phrase? The small is beautiful approach. What does that look like? Mother Teresa said, not all of us can do great things, but all of us can do small things with great love. Last year's summit, we met a small ministry in Montreal that works with high school students making gourmet chocolate. The kids learned all sorts of marketable skills in the process, from production to marketing to sales to accounting and to fiscal management. We met a small ministry agency in Chattanooga doing job training and placement, as well as entrepreneurial training and helping people with barriers to employment launch small businesses. We met a small church in Vancouver, BC that started 3 small businesses, a renovation company working with men recovering from addiction, a catering company working with women recently released from prison, and a pottery studio working with developmentally disabled people. All sorts of creative models are breaking out across the country and here locally, even since our last summit. For example, North Fresno Church has launched a ministry called FACE, Fresno Area Community Enterprises. As part of this, they've launched 2 small businesses. Pastor Lauren, are you here this morning? Can you just stand from where you are at your table? Give us 2 minutes on What are these businesses? Why did you launch them, and what are they doing?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So Randy mentioned one of the pastors at North Fresno Church, which is actually more in central Fresno, but we've been working in our neighborhood, which has some concentrated poverty over the last several years. And one of the things that we've run into over and over again is just how do we move beyond immediate relief? We do a pretty good job with things like food and clothing and bus tokens or even PG&E bills. But we found that this issue of people that were looking for work and wanting to do something to self-sustain was a challenge. So one of the individuals we worked with, we discovered he's a very good basketball player, and also he's very good at coaching and working with people. And so we opened up our gymnasium and helped him create a business called JMJ Basketball, and now he's coaching and doing private and group lessons. And so now he's one of our employees, and he's actually getting a paycheck every month, and we don't have to worry about things like, Pastor, I need this, Pastor, I need that. Now he's actually working for us. The other thing that we started was a lawn and yard business. Somebody donated a truck and some yard equipment, and so since January we put some guys to work part-time, and we're still evolving and figuring that out. This week we have a job cutting firewood with a chainsaw. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But overall, we've done about 40 jobs, and we have about 4 or 5 guys that are working part-time with that.
Wow. Thank you, Lauren. Small is beautiful approach. Again, small is beautiful. So what are some of the assumptions that underlie these models? I won't take a lot of time on this because our speaker has far more to say about this, but number one, the dignity of human beings is tied to work. Work existed before the fall. It was considered a godlike role, and it makes sense for us to make it central to the church's agenda. And you'll hear more about that from our speaker. Secondly, we believe that work itself is a holy activity, one that the Holy Spirit equips a person for. Just look at Exodus 31. It says that the Spirit of God gave Oholiab special skill to accomplish his craft on a project that God was having the people of Israel work on. The Spirit endows a person with the skill of craft and of knowledge to do their work. Yes, it's a Spirit-inspired gift. Third assumption, churches and faith-based agencies can often provide what secular agencies cannot. The influence of a loving spiritual solution and a new family that can surround a person and help them deal with the vulnerabilities and heart issues faced by so many people in poverty. That's our third assumption. And finally, the scriptures provide fertile ground for exploring holistic solutions to destitution and poverty. So let's take a brief look at this, a biblical example where a crisis led to a creative response that involved personal responsibility, intervention, and a community solution. We'll go to 2 Kings chapter 4. Verses 1 through 7, and I'm just going to spend a minute in this. Here's the crisis. Now, the wife of the member of the company of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord, but a creditor has come to take my 2 children as slaves." Wouldn't you call that a crisis? So Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you?" Important question. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" She answered, "Your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil." And he said, "Go outside, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels and not just a few. Then go in and shut the door behind you and your children and start pouring into all these vessels. When each is full, set it aside." So she left him and shut the door behind her and her children, and they kept bringing vessels to her. She kept pouring. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." But he said to her, "There are no more." Then the oil stopped flowing. She came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil, pay your debts, and you and your children can live on the rest." So what was the problem? It was a typical one for the poor, a financial crisis, and suddenly she was going to lose her children. Families in the city have this all the time for various reasons. One paycheck from destitution. What's the first question Elisha asked? What shall I do for you? This gave the woman a chance to say what the problem was. So too often other people define what the problem is. This woman owns the problem. She's able to tell him this is the problem. And then the next question was so crucial. What kind of question was it? It was an asset question. Not a deficit question. List all the problems in your life for me. No. It's, what do you have? Let's take stock. What do you have? That'll be a great starting place. And we can do the same thing in the lives of people. They all have skills. They all have knowledge and experience. We can build on that in their lives. Who was involved in the solution? Well, think about it. She was, her sons, the neighbors. Elisha gave leadership to the process. Anybody else involved in the process here? God in the miracle, right? And that is so often the very combination that it takes to achieve the kind of economic solutions that we need in our valley. The short-term implications of the solution, she could pay her debt off. The long-term implications, wasn't there like a little cottage industry right there? Suddenly she became the seller of oil. She was the go-to woman in the community. She has all this oil now. Who knows what that would capitalize then for the future? This is a long-term solution, not just a short-term solution. What's the lesson for our city here? This was a creative response to a dilemma. What's our dilemma? Seemingly intractable unemployment in our city. What's the creative response that we're looking for? Is Bryce Yoakum in the house yet? Bryce is not here yet. Okay. I'll take his place. Bryce Yoakum is a professor in our FPU Center. And Bryce and the church, neighborhood church in Visalia, the staff of the church, the pastor of the church, used to go down the street to Maria's Mexican restaurant to have their staff lunches. And one day they came, and it turns out the restaurant had a small fire. And the fire marshal had come out. They put the fire out. The fire wasn't the big problem. The problem was the fire marshal looked around and realized there are all these other code violations in Maria's restaurant. Not to her fault. It was the owner of the building who had never done some major things. So Maria went to the owner of the building and said, hey, can you fix these? Because the fire marshal won't let me open up until you do. The owner of the building was not interested in improving the building at all or fixing the problems. He was just interested in collecting Maria's rent. So he just said, no, I don't think so. I'm not sure. And for months this went on. And finally she closed. She just could never reopen. So the church found out about this. And you guys have seen recently all the rage are these food carts, right? So Bryce, being a business professor, and Stephanie, one of the staff of the church, went to Maria and said, Maria, would you ever want to do like a food cart? And she said, I'd love to. I don't have the capital to get a truck. So he said, what if the church could do a micro loan, no interest, and help you come up with the initial capitalization? She said, well, I'd be willing to try. So he brought it to the church. The church agreed to let it come before the congregation. And they decided they'd try to raise about $3,500 so she could do the down payment on a truck. Well, that morning they raised $10,000. And later today you'll see that truck parked right out here because she's going to serve a lot of our lunch today. But now she's at mobile sites all throughout Visalia. Now this was a church doing a micro loan. Have you ever heard of any other church in the valley right now doing micro loans as a strategy to develop small business? No. What an irony that is, because they're used all throughout the world. All of the organizations you support, World Vision, Compassion International, they use these throughout the world. We, who have 13 to 33% unemployment in our city, need to get good at this kind of thing. Now, that's an incredible story. It was a church-sponsored micro fund, and we're excited to be able to fan that kind of thing into flame. And that's just one of the things happening. We know that Valley Christian Center is launching their Dream Center. They hope to do job training. There are all sorts of other stories we could overwhelm you with this morning, but we've got other things to do. Here's how today is going to work. If you'll look at your schedule, you'll notice that the first part of the day is dedicated to introducing the subject. And then in a moment, we're going to hear from Dr. Brad Smith, who has what I consider to be a very rare mix of experience that's going to help us today in some pretty unique ways. And then we'll have time to consider a variety of local models in 2 breakout sessions that are bringing hope in Fresno. And we'll introduce them in a minute. And then we'll have a quick lunch, which includes several options. One's provided by Maria, and her truck is called the Santa Fe Grill. You'll meet her today. Another is a soup kitchen and salad and cornbread option from a catering company called Christ Kitchen that employs women recently released from prison and from the street. And we're featuring Jan Martinez's book today. It's outside on the book table. It's for sale. And she's an amazing woman, an amazing story. In fact, she was one of Brad Smith's students in Bucky Graduate University. So very creative models coming out of that organization. And then there is a sandwich option from a local bakery. Now, on the break, you got to go outside and get your ticket, especially color-coded ticket, for the kind of lunch you want. And I'll just ask your patience, if the kind you wanted is gone, then please choose one of the other options. And I'm sure you will not be hungry today. At lunch, we'll provide networking options by subject. All of the workshop presenters, if you didn't go to the workshop that you wanted, all of the presenters will be sitting at these tables and the ones outside. There'll be a little sign on that table. So look around before you sit down to eat your lunch, because you'll be able to have lunch with one of the presenters, and it'll give you a chance to explore more completely. And then we will finish today with a panel discussion of practical considerations. So let's briefly introduce our seminar leaders today. If you are here leading a seminar, would you stand and just say your name, the organization you're with, and the title of your seminar. And I'll just walk through the order of the seminars. But if you would stand, all of the seminar leaders stand today. And we'll start with Ways a Church Can Serve the Unemployed with Carlotta Curdy.
Carlotta Curdy, North Point Community Church. I run a ministry, a volunteer ministry called North Point Works, where we are a support group, and we deal with one of the points that you talked about, where we really walk people through the spiritual and aspect and into the Word on any the crisis that they're working through.
Amen. Thank you. Now, I don't think Bryce has arrived yet, so Bryce is going to do a seminar on what is a social enterprise. I mean, this might be a new term for you. A social business, social enterprise. If you ever heard of the triple bottom line, a business has to be financially viable. It's got to be have social impact, and it's got to be environmentally sustainable. So what is that all about, and how would you start one? This is what Bryce is going to talk about. And then we have Annette Watkins and Art, what's your last name?
Moss.
Thank you, Moss. And is Paul McCain-Legowski here yet? Not here quite yet. So tell us about your seminar.
Again, I'm Arthur Moss. I'm the one-stop site manager for Workforce Connection and the Central Labor Council Partnership out of a Manchester one-stop. And Annette and I are going to talk about referring well, getting the unemployed from your church or organization or agencies to the right resources.
Excellent, thank you. And there are all sorts of pipelines that we can refer to. Getting people in the right pipeline is really important, so it's a very important seminar. We also have our 3 social business contest winners here today, and you're going to meet them more in a minute, and so let me just speak for them in saying you're going to hear a lot more about each of their social enterprises as you go to their workshops, and you're going to hear about them up front. So that'll be a chance to go a little bit more deeply into them. But they include Nathan Hunt over here, Ivan Paz over here, and Gabe Hernandez over in the corner there. So this is going to be a fantastic chance to get more exposure to them. Kyle Kennington, where are you? Very good.
I'm Kyle Kennington. I'm the executive director of Lana Coffee. The title of mine is a local example of social business. So Lana Coffee essentially has found a way to create jobs both locally and for villagers in Thailand through the production, marketing, sales of coffee.
Thank you. Casey Lemonsky, are you here yet? Okay, Casey's not here quite yet. Casey is with the Lyle Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Fresno State. They have something called Biz Camps, which are summer youth camps that teach entrepreneurship. That's going to be a really interesting seminar as well. Dr. Brad Smith will be leading a seminar on business as mission. And really defining business in ways perhaps you haven't thought about it before, addressing the separation between business and ministry and removing and blurring that line, hopefully forever. Then Jeremy Hofer, are you here yet? Jeremy is from the Community Development Financial Institution. If you have a good idea for starting a social enterprise, Jeremy will help you know how to fund that vision. All sorts of financial resources out there that will help you in that process. Roy Vasquez, I don't believe is here yet either. And Roy will talk about how to do a business plan, just the basics. And you have some on your table. We'll talk about that a little bit later for the contest today. But Roy will walk you through that. Yami Rodriguez, are you here yet?
She's not here, but I'm here.
Okay, Cindy Mendez.
Hi, I'm Cindy Mendez. I'm here doing the pre-employment strategies. I'm with my sister's closet. It's a ministry we started out of our church. I sit on the board. Started in 2008 as a response to the crisis that's happening in our city, unemployment, getting women ready for interview and resume building. So we do pre-career strategies, and so that's what I'll be presenting with.
Excellent.
Yanni, who's not here yet.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And then finally, Craig Sharton, who I don't think here is quite yet either, is pretty much the local resident expert on the new cottage food law, which as of 2 years ago allows people to cook in their home kitchen but sell commercially, which was never legal before. And now that it is legal, it opens up the doors to all sorts of new opportunities, especially for people who just need a little extra margin in their lives. And how to utilize a church kitchen to up that game a little bit and do on a little bit more of a broad basis. So can you just give a round of applause to all these seminar leaders? Okay, so make a note as to which two you'd like to go to and where they are. Some of the seminars are being held right here in this courtyard area, down this hallway in classrooms, but some of them are just around the corner here. You walk around the green into that building beyond those trees, and there are a couple of seminar rooms there as well. And now, I'd like you to meet, by video, the 3 winners of the Social Business Plan contest from last year. Brenda, can you help us get to know them by video?
Hi, my name is Nathan Hunt. I'm the manager of a small business called Say Hello. Say Hello was started up out of the community development work happening here in this neighborhood. We're in Lowell right now and has been known for its share of issues over the time. As we've lived and worked here, we found that it's a place of incredible possibility and beauty and potential, far more than its issues. Business came out of the community development work of On-Ramps Covenant Church. On-Ramps is made up of people who are of this neighborhood and who are deeply committed to this neighborhood. So we started Say Hello. And Say Hello's, the idea came to us again from the gifts of our people. We found that we had people who knew the streets, people who were natural salespeople, and comfortable in this setting, and so we started a door-to-door advertising company. Say Hello works with local businesses, partners with them to deliver flyers, advertisements, swag, spoken messages, whatever they need in order to get the word out to their neighborhood and the surrounding area. And so we've been hiring people from within our church, from this neighborhood, who needed jobs and who are now learning skills, developing work readiness, and able to grow as people.
Hey, my name is Gabriel Hernandez, and I work for Fresno Madera Youth for Christ. I've been blessed and honored to be able to be a part of a business that we started through the work of our hands called Skate Inc. Kind of came about. I work with a lot of graffiti artists, I work with a lot of skateboarders, and the two just came together. We started taking skateboards and putting graffiti on it. This business has opened up an opportunity for kids to not only stay off the street, but to be able to use their abilities and talents in a positive way. We in turn allow them to work on these skateboards. We provide all the resources, they do the work, they use their skills and talents, and then we turn around and sell them, and we only take back what our supply cost is, allowing us to pay the youth for their work and create an opportunity for them to be able to help out with groceries around home. I've even heard some of the kids helping to pay rent. Kids are buying their own shoes, they're upgrading their skateboards, their phones. So basically just creating a service where they're not having to steal to provide for things that they want. Since the starting of Skate Inc., we've been in multiple venues, from the local art hop that happens every Thursday of the month to various different organizations that have opened up their doors and churches that have opened up their doors, as well as even a local pub in the downtown area. We've had nothing but positive feedback from just all walks of life, different people who love the street art and adhere to what it's trying to do and what it's trying to say, but also those that don't quite understand it. So it's been amazing to watch how the lines have been blurred in this kind of understanding of this art form called graffiti.
My name's Osvalda Cruz. I'm co-director of 701 United. 701 United is a urban fitness center that works with the youth in the 93701 zip code. It teaches them discipleship, violence mediation, fitness, health, discipleship, all through a gospel-centered perspective and through the means of mixed martial arts. Although 701 started as a community organization, it has transitioned over to a social enterprise model. It has enabled us to move towards self-sustainability as well as making an impact in the social community. In December of last year, we received our first investment. We were able to purchase much needed equipment for the facility. However, our continuous means of revenue has been through the monthly membership fees that the kids pay to take classes with us. With that, we have been able to provide jobs for our youth leaders. With the job opportunities that we have provided, the leaders have been able to learn life skills, what it takes to hold a job, be on time, assist trainers, and that's just a little bit of what goes on here at 701 United. We hope to continue growing, keep forming long-lasting relationships, and invite you to come and check us out.
Thanks to Brenda Bravo for putting that little video together. Now I'd like to invite the three social business winners to come forward, and we'll just ask you a few questions about how your businesses are going. Nathan and Ivan and Gabe. Good. Nathan, step up to the mic first. Say Hello is a street-level advertising distribution company that works with people in your church that need employment and employment training. A panel of judges from FPU, from business department, and also business people in the community judged your model as being worthy of investment, and that happened last year, after last year's summit. Give us an update. How does it work, for example, and then what are some of the social goals of the business?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's simple. It's a very simple business model. I would hate for anyone to leave today really impressed with all that we can do. And not with the sense of this is very attainable kind of thing for ourselves. So all we do is try and put together a comprehensive set of advertising services for local businesses, churches, whoever wants to get the word out to their local community. So we do advertising consulting, we do printing, graphic design, and then street level distribution of flyers, swag, the kind of things that I said in the video. We'll also do spoken messages. We're even doing some surveys for different organizations now. We're trying to be very flexible and customizable in what we do.
No singing telegrams yet.
Not yet,
Okay.
but we have the right people for it if it comes to that.
What are some of the social goals of the business?
Yeah, so social goals, I mean, the beauty of this, and we've already talked about dignity, we're a business. We don't hand out charity, we hand out paychecks, right? Mm-hmm. So that in and of itself is a beautiful thing. We've already had 7 people. We just started in March as a business, and in 3 months we've already been able to give paychecks to 7 people. And so just folks need money, guys. It's as simple as that, and they need it in a way that affirms the dignity that they already have. And so as a business, we're able to do that. So that's one, and then 2 is we put together a employee development program, and the business provides a context where we can just help shape people and move them towards the next step, towards their goals, towards their dreams, build up those kind of soft skills that are really necessary in the workplace to move forward, as well as hard skills like interviews and resumes and all those kind of things.
So how many contracts do you have so far, and what's next in building the enterprise?
Let's see. In just 3 months, we have worked for Neighborhood Thrift. We are still in the midst of helping Oliver Veins with his campaign. We've worked for Ivan now. We've done a few churches. We have I don't know, at least 10. I could keep listing them off. So it's been really good. Next steps, I would say first is just continuing to scale what we're doing. I would love, I think a good number for us to get to right now would be about 6 employees who are all getting 20 plus hours a week. We'd love to get to that point in the next 6 months to a year, and I think we're on that track. So that, and then I think we're just still learning how to put structure to what we're doing as we find our way through all this.
Thank you, Nathan. And Nathan is, I should mention, proudly so, Nathan is a seminary student here at the Fresno Pacific Biblical Seminary. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah. Thank you. Let me introduce you to Ivan Paz, co-director of Skate Inc. And so, Ivan, fitness and, sorry?
701 United.
Did I say Skate Inc?
Yeah, don't give him my job.
You guys look so much alike, right? Because my notes say Skate Inc. next. Okay, Ivan, you're here. Fitness and martial arts to reduce violence.
Yes.
Come on, tell us about that.
Okay, so I think one thing we're doing is we're creating partnerships with some of our sponsoring gyms that have actual like professional fighters and stuff like that. And what they do is they send their amateur fighters to help volunteer at 701 United. So they train our kids with certain lessons. And then I'm just a theologian. I'm not much of a like business guy or like, I'm not much of that stuff. So I bring the scriptures. I do Bible lessons with the kids after our workouts to make sure that there is an investment of the kind of virtues we want to see in them. And then Ozzy, Osvaldo Cruz, who you saw in the video, she's my partner. She kind of brings a little bit of the administrative stuff from the business she works for. And then Eugene Lopez, who's sitting back, you hear more from at the workshop. He has experience in coaching. So I think really like all three of us together with our volunteers and then our youth kind of create this type of environment. But
so kids in the poorest neighborhood of the city are paying you a monthly fee.
Yeah, we used to allow them to come and work out, but they would kind of show up once a week, and maybe we didn't see them again. But ever since we had put together a fee, which is $15 a month, compared to $75 or $100 a month, they've kind of, it's so affordable. They come and they're committed to it, so they make sure they get the most out of their money.
And so they're paying you a monthly fee. They come to the weekly fitness training sessions. Is it sustainable? Is it paying for itself right now?
Yes, I think when we started with the $2,000 gift or award from the CCT, we've actually multiplied that by 9. So, and that's just in 5 months. Yeah. So we are now like very self-sustainable. We've hired 2 of our teenage boys. We've also created a small part-time job for coaching opportunities. For some of our college students who do, or college graduates who have a kinesiology degree or something like that. So, we're definitely creating jobs out of our programs.
Everybody say thanks to All right, Gabe, so young men from the neighborhood that you work with in designing and customizing skateboards, then you sell them. Tell us about this. Here's one of them.
Okay, so I don't know why God chose to put a bunch of little knuckleheads around me, but and I call them that to their face, so I'm not saying it behind their back. Basically, I've been an artist my whole life, and it's just amazing how God will use some of the talents that we have to connect with other people. And God just kept bringing this group of illegal graffiti vandals around and was trying to encourage them to stop doing it in that way and trying to tell them, look, man, you guys are really talented. So we actually started by going into churches. Youth groups, of course, want to look cool and be inviting. And so I bring these guys in, and this will probably be one of the only times that they actually go to church because they don't attend. And so they would go and bomb the room up and stuff, and then it just kind of just filtered down into what we're doing now. Got a lot of skateboarders in the neighborhood, a lot of kids that are cruising around on busted and broken boards, and the bottoms all shredded up and faded out and stuff. So we just kind of came up with the idea to start designing, using some of their talents to bless the kids. And yeah, it's just kind of just taking shape to where now we've been able to sell them. One of the biggest events we had, we made $1,100 in selling the skateboards.
How much does the skateboard go for?
We started asking, somebody threw out $100, so that's what we started asking. We know that some of them are not, they're not going to sell for that, and I know it sounds kind of messed up, but well, no, I mean, they're just not. You know, we really, since Randy's kind of given us some advice and some guidance, we really need to have like a standard of quality. You know what I mean? It's got to meet a certain amount. If we're going to ask for that kind of commitment from the person who's buying it, then at least that much commitment needs to come back. Because really, what are we teaching the youth? They can scribble whatever they want on a board, and they're still getting a handout. So there still needs to be a level of performance there, you know, to the best of their ability.
You see your new website up behind you here that you're still in production on. We're excited about that development. What's next now? What's the next challenge, and what are your hopes?
Ooh, getting youth that are not used to committing to stay committed.
Yeah.
They get excited about it. You know, we talk about it, and I was thinking about it this morning. You know, the idea of them making money is something that draws them in, but I think they're still looking at it from the aspect like they're making YFC money. I think we've done a really good model of breaking it down, that if we sell, you know, a specific board for $100, we break it down into 4. You know what I mean? YFC gets a cost back so that we can continue to do this, and then the money split amongst the youth that we have working with us. But I don't know if that's enticing enough. So, you know, I really don't know what the next step is. We got youth that they're committed for one day, and then they don't show up for a month, and then they're committed for a month, and then we don't see them. So right now it's just really trying to just encourage them to stay committed and stay through the long run so that they can see some fruit for their work.
That's excellent. Let's give Skate. Now, one of the things I hope you see in this is you're seeing 3 small businesses still in the startup phase. Right? They don't have all the answers yet. They're learning the answers as they go, but they're not letting the fact that they don't have all the answers stop them from getting started, because you learn as you go. Experiential learning, right? And those lessons are the ones that really matter, not the ones you learn in a book necessarily. The lessons that emerge right from your experience in these businesses, working with these target audiences, those are the ones that are going to shape what you do. And so you're seeing an evolution take place literally since we did the contest last year, and we're hoping to launch another contest at the end of this day. You'll have an opportunity to hear more of the specifics from all 3 of these people and how it works, and ask some questions if you attend their breakout. So we're really excited about that. Well, unbelievably, I am only 1 minute over schedule here today, so that's the first miracle. Take a deep breath, because now we're going to transition to hearing from Dr. Brad Smith, and it's really my pleasure to introduce you to Brad. Brad is the president of Bakke Graduate University. I spent 4 years with Bakke, traveling the world, working with students from 39 countries, doing transformational leadership development. Brad, he was top of my list when I thought, who would I like to come this year to be a non-Skyped in person with us in the room? Brad was at the top of that list because he's a rare mix of experience combining the worlds of business, the worlds of community benefit organizations, church planting. He was a church planter, academia now, and he's also served in government with 2 U.S. senators. Brad has observed transformational mission all around the world. In fact, the way I like to put it is he sat with leaders in boardrooms and back alleys, squatter settlements, and Senate chambers. And we have trudged around the world together, from China to India to Jamaica, looking at transformational leadership models. And I've asked him to come to Fresno to give us a little bit more of a global vision. What are some signs of hope regarding social enterprise? And along with that, and maybe even more important than the models, How do we create a new normal in the church where the utilization of this strategy is more normative? You get that? How do we create a new normal in the church where this approach is more normative? Would you help me welcome